Welcome to the story that was never meant to be told, the story that hides beneath the shimmer of titles, beneath the cameras, beneath the endless applause. Beneath the golden glory, his soul still searches for her shadow is not about royalty. It's about a man, stripped of the world's illusions, stripped of the weight of perfection, searching for the only thing he ever truly lost, her. Sheikh Hamdan, known to millions as Fazza, the poet prince, the icon of grace and strength. But behind that brilliance lies a silence heavy enough to shake even the stars. A silence that holds her name. They see his life as a golden fairy tale, the palaces, the horses, the sea, the sunsets. But they don't see what happens when the lights fade, when the walls of the palace echo too loudly. They don't see him stand before the mirror, not as a ruler, but as a man still haunted by the reflection of what he couldn't keep. The gold doesn't blind him, it burns him. Every sparkle reminds him of her, the one who left not out of choice, but out of fate's cruel demand. Her absence is the shadow that walks beside his crown. The world worships his strength, yet they have never seen the nights when he unravels, when he sits by his desk long after midnight, his poetry bleeding through trembling hands. They read his verses and call them masterpieces, but they don't realize they're love letters dressed as art, confessions buried in metaphors. Each poem is a scream disguised in silence. He doesn't write to be admired. He writes to survive. He once said, "Gold glitters, but shadows hold truth." Few understood what he meant. They thought it was philosophy, it was heartbreak. Beneath the robes of silk and the medals of honor lives a man who would trade it all just to hear her voice again. The irony of royalty is that it grants everything except the right to choose who holds your heart. He had everything, except the freedom to keep her. And that paradox carved his poetry deeper than any wound. In the corridors of his palace, her memory lingers like perfume. The air still remembers her laughter, her steps, her gaze. He walks through those halls, and though he is surrounded by gold, he feels nothing but cold. The chandeliers shimmer above him, but his eyes always search for the one light that's missing. For him, glory is not triumph, it's torment, a mirror that reflects everything he has, and everything he's lost. He often escapes to the desert, not for adventure, but for confession. Out there, where the world falls silent and the wind erases footprints, he feels closer to her. The sands do not judge, the stars do not lie. He speaks her name aloud into the vast emptiness, and for a moment, it feels like she answers through the breeze. There, beneath the ancient sky, the prince becomes a man again, raw, unguarded, undone. It is the only place he can cry without consequence. There are nights when he stares at the city lights of Dubai, each one a reminder of his empire, and yet none bright enough to match the fire she left behind. He built monuments for his people, but his heart remained a ruin for her. He wore his smile like armor, his titles like shields, but when the world went quiet, he could hear the faint echo of her goodbye, the sound that changed everything. The applause that follows him wherever he goes feels empty now. What good is a crown, he wonders, when the throne feels colder than the night sky? He remembers her not as she was, but as she felt. The softness in her tone, the kindness in her rebellion, the way she made simplicity feel royal. She never bowed before his crown, and that's what made him love her even more. She spoke to him as if he were not a prince, but a poem, fragile, incomplete, waiting to be understood. And though she's gone, her words still echo in his mind. You can't cage love, not even in gold. It was the one truth he couldn't protect her from. The world thinks his silence is serenity, but it's not. It's grief mastered into elegance. Every public smile, every graceful gesture, is a performance perfected over years of hiding the storm within. His people see leadership, he feels loss. His admirers see perfection, he feels punishment. The irony of his fame is that he cannot escape his own myth, the image of a man complete, when in truth, he is half a soul, forever searching.
There are moments in the stillness before dawn when he feels her closer than ever, as if the wind itself carries her name, whispering it through the marble corridors that once knew their secret. He closes his eyes and listens, not with his ears, but with his soul. That's when the facade fades, when the ruler vanishes and only the lover remains. He doesn't need a photograph to remember her face, it's etched into the fabric of his being. He can feel her presence in the way his heart skips at the scent of jasmine, in the way a song can suddenly stop him mid-breath. She has become the pulse beneath his silence. Sometimes he walks among his people, smiling, shaking hands, fulfilling duties that the crown demands. But deep inside, there's a parallel life playing in his heart, one where she's still there, waiting under the same stars that now watch him rule. They see a prince of composure and grace, but if they looked closer, they'd see the quiet tremor in his gaze when he watches lovers pass by. It's not jealousy, it's remembrance. He once knew what it felt like to be held for who he was, not what he was. And no title can replace that. He writes her into every sunset, the horizon itself feels like her promise to never fade entirely. When the evening calls him to the sea, he speaks her name into the waves, letting the tides carry what his voice can't contain. To the world, it's poetry. To him, it's survival. Each poem is a bridge between the man he must be and the man he still is. The ocean understands what the palace never could, that even kings have ghosts, and even poets bleed. There are letters no one will ever read, sealed in drawers where his crown cannot reach. He writes to her as if she's still somewhere reading, as if her silence is simply distance, not disappearance. The ink becomes his confession, and every word feels like a reunion. You were not my mistake, one letter says, you were my miracle, and miracles don't die, they hide. He has written thousands of lines, but none have been enough to say what his eyes would have spoken in one look. He once dreamed of building a kingdom where love and duty could coexist, but he learned that even the strongest walls can't protect what the world refuses to understand. The throne demanded his loyalty, his heart demanded her. Between them, he chose both, and lost one. The price of greatness, he discovered, is the quiet burial of what makes you human. And yet, no matter how deeply he buries her memory, it rises again in every act of kindness he performs, in every tear he hides behind a smile. The world has seen his victories, his triumphs, his grandeur. But they will never see the wars he fights in solitude, the battles between what he shows and what he feels. Every accolade feels hollow compared to the warmth of her name. Every crown heavy compared to the lightness